Chers auditeurs,
Dear listeners,
bonjour.
welcome in Comme d'Archi Podcast Season 4
Saison 4, dans le monde fascinant des architectes.
and in the architectural projects.
Je suis Anne-Charlotte Deponte, passionnée d'architecture et docteur des universités en histoire de l'archi.
I am one of the spokespersons of Anne-Charlotte, who is a PhD in architecture history.
Merci
Thank you
d'être avec moi aujourd'hui.
to be with us today.
Et
And
maintenant,
now,
lundi en français, place au talent.
and Wednesday, let's talk projects. In English, of course.
Bienvenue dans Comme d'Archi.
Dear listeners, it's a pleasure to meet you again today with Eric Lang. Hello, Eric.
Hello.
Welcome to Comme d'Archi. You are a structural engineering partner of the very famous American architectural firm SkidmoreOwings&Merrill, the one that designed the John Hancock Tower in Chicago. You are based at the San Francisco office, California,
That's
USA.
right.
Thank you very much for having us in your office here today in San Francisco. Amazing, impressive for us, little Frenchies.
Well, it's great for you to be here, and thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, and thank you for the opportunity too.
Sure.
I quote, during your 2+ decades at SOM, you have worked in regions of high seismicity around the world at all scales, from tall towers to museums, embassies, retrofits, and works of art. With a keen focus on constructability and rigorous collaboration, you devise technologically advanced and sustainability-driven structural systems that are ultimately easy to execute. Let's start at the beginning. What is your background? How was your childhood? Where did you desire for engineering and architecture take roots? What did you study? When and how did you start your activity as a structural engineer?
Sure. Well, we can. In thinking about this, I was go back to my childhood and think about what was influential to me as a child to get into the built environment. Really, as an engineer, yes, but also as a designer of buildings and structures and places where we inhabit as people. Right? Mm-hmm. And I grew up in Chicago.
Oh.
So as a child, I was always amazed at Sears Tower and John Hancock and
Yes.
being in the city where the world's tallest building was at the time. And so that was hugely influential to me. But also as a child, in my childhood, loving to take things apart, figure out how they work, build things of my own. And so it was that kind of combination, I think, of that curiosity about how things go together and how they're built, and being next to and in a city with architectural history such as Chicago.
Yes.
Is where a lot of my influence was driven.
An emblematic city.
Sure,
Yeah.
of course.
Mm-hmm.
So from there, I went to University of Illinois in Champaign, and also a great school for engineering,
Yes.
and studied there, and started at SOM in Chicago after I graduated university. And so it was there that I had my roots, and there I went back to work at SOM as my first job out of school.
How many times in SOM now?
So now I've been here 22 years.
Bravo.
And it was shortly after I was in Chicago for a short time, and then came out here to San Francisco to help on a project. And that it was the St. Regis Museum Tower was one of my first projects, which is a luxury hotel and residential tower here in San Francisco.
Yes, with the seismicity problem, it was a subject at the beginning in San Francisco for you?
So that's a great question, because as someone from Chicago without that experience of earthquakes, Although we learned it in school, but still the practicality of it was, yes, something I had to learn being here in San Francisco. And it was a quick study, and because seismicity is important for all the projects.
Retrouvez l'intégralité de cet épisode sur Apple Podcast, Acast, Deezer, Spotify.